While Netflix has been known to adapt comic book properties like Marvel's Daredevil and Punisher, the streaming service has touched on other comics that aren't necessarily superhero-based. DC Comics' Sweet Tooth is one such franchise, originating from the publisher's Vertigo imprint. It initially dealt with a world broken by a pandemic leading to an apocalypse. A virus known as the Sick thinned out humanity at the same time that the hybrid animal children were born. In Sweet Tooth Season 3, the young, dear boy, Gus and his guardian Jepperd travel to Alaska to find the cure. They have Bear, Wendy, and the repentant Drive, Sing to assist this time around. But their journey becomes perilous as Helen Zhang and her Texan army hunt them, believing Gus' flesh and blood can heal the earth. This builds to a harrowing finale filled with bloodshed, heartbreak and a very thought-provoking ending. Updated on November 2, 2024, by A.J. Arowand, Sweet Tooth's third and final season was not without its heartbreaking moments. That said, the ending was largely happy because the hybrids were going to inherit the world following the extinction of humanity. What many fans of the TV show don't know, however, is that the comic series had a less-known sequel. As such, we have updated this article with some more information about Sweet Tooth, The Return. All series long, Gus wanted to find the woman he considered his mother. She turns out to be Birdie, a scientist who engineered Gus in the Fort Worth lab. To sneak Gus away, Birdie worked with a janitor who later became known as Pubba. Unfortunately, Pubba died years after raising Gus, which kickstarted the chain of events for Gus to unite with Jepperd and find clues about Birdie being alive. It's a survivalist adventure that fans of HBO's The Last of Us would certainly enjoy, especially with Gus and the hybrids immune to the virus. Thankfully, they ended up in Alaska in Sweet Tooth's final season, where Birdie had a research facility. They partner with Birdie's friends, Sienna, her fox hybrid daughter Nuka, and other allies to find Birdie. Unfortunately, the evil Helen Zhang pursues them and uses her soldiers to attack the colony. Helen wants to find the source of the sick, as it had caused the fall of society via the Great Crumble. Shockingly, Drive, Aditya Singh flips on the heroes and joins Helen. It seems that Singh wasn't telling the whole truth when he said he shared Gus' dream of the cave. Singh hid the fact that he had to kill Gus. Thanks to this premonition, he believed his actions would reverse the virus spread. But when Singh was about to stab Gus, Jepperd intervened, thinking that this was his destiny. He abandoned his family when his wife delivered a hybrid child, only for guilt to gnaw at him for years. As a result, Jepperd has been on a redemption quest. However, another twist unfolds at this moment. Birdie blocks Jepperd and Gus, taking the knife to her stomach. Singh is stunned back to reality because he never meant to hurt her. Birdie bleeds out and dies. Birdie is appreciative of the fact she got to spend a few days with Gus. No matter what, she always loved and missed him. As this happens, a mournful Gus begins to buy into what Jepperd and Birdie realized. Humanity will always be selfish, warmongering and decadent. Birdie came to regret looking for a cure because she, like Jepperd, thought humanity was the true virus and the sick was actually the cure, a theme explored in shows like The Walking Dead. The mystery of the cave hinges on the mystical tree discovered there, the so-called antler tree that the roving explorer Thacker found a century ago. He tried to extract the sap from it, mistakenly believing it to be some kind of panacea. Thacker wanted to take it back to civilization, but his ill crew betrayed him to keep the virus confined. This created the first form of the sick in Alaska, ending with all their deaths. It also created the first hybrid named Munoxriri, whom Gus and Birdie had to bury after he told them about the cave. This revelation also answers what came first. The sick did indeed precede the rise of the hybrids. The antler tree's sap was known as the blood of the earth. The antler tree was supposedly linked to everything in the biosphere. Destroying the antler tree was the only way to permanently stop the sick. Coincidentally, Thacker trying to cut the tree a century ago leaked some goo into the ice. This is what Birdie's team found after tracing Thacker's tracks. They thought this substance in the ice could heal sickness, but when their lab examined it, the sick spread from America to the rest of the world. Engineering Gus there also set the virus loose so that hybrids would be born naturally. In Singh's eyes, once he can end Gus there, it will return what was depleted from the tree. In Zhang's view, she needs the goo as well in case Singh's plan fails. Jepperd doesn't want this to happen, however. After seeing Birdie die, he is convinced humanity is not worthy of the world. He wants Gus to go free, so he tries to light a flare and burn the tree down. He knows Zhang is looking at a two-pronged approach, Gus' death and the goo. It's why she has her team plowing through the snow hundreds of feet away with an excavator to come for it. Thankfully, Bear crashes into the excavator, aka the Beast, allowing Sienna's team to hold up Team Zhang. Unfortunately, Zhang calls Jeopard's bluff. She knows that he has no idea if Gus will die when the tree is harmed. Gus is left more disillusioned when Zhang stabs Jeopard. She clears the way for Singh to finish Gus off, evoking the name of Rani, Singh's wife. Rani wanted Singh to keep experimenting on hybrids in the past, even if it meant murdering children. But when she realized they were becoming monsters, she begged him to stop and accept her imminent mortality. Rani eventually left Singh in Season 2, presumably to die as penance for her sins. The original comic version of Dr. Aditya Singh was simply known as Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh's unnamed wife died long before the comic timeline. The comic's Drive. Singh was a despicable man who cared little about experimenting on hybrids. Since then, Singh has been torn between protecting Gus and saving the world. Eventually, he settled on what his vision portended. Singh hedged his bets on the virus disappearing and hybrids dying once he made the sacrifice. Zhang has been all in because her younger Ginger is just about to go into labor. With time running out, she urges Singh to complete the job. Once Gus dies, Ginger can give birth to a human. They can then take the tree and ensure that all other births are human and that the virus never returns. Luckily, Singh remembers how Rani was repulsed at what they became. Singh recalls his oath to save lives and the advice he once gave Jeopard at the hospital about believing in hope, optimism, and nature. The doctor then attacks Zhang's men and tries to help Gus escape. An enraged Zhang decides to pluck the axe out of the mystical tree to kill the boy herself. This causes the goo to leak out, which immediately gives everyone the sick. This includes Sienna, Ginger, Rosie, Ginger's sister, and Zhang's crew in the snow. This is a clear sign that nature wants the hybrids to inherit the earth. As Jeopard bleeds out, an angry Gus punches the tree. However, he is taken to a magical realm where he meets Pubba, who discusses with the more mature Gus. He admits Gus has to let go of the past and let evolution occur. Gus can't play both sides, one will win, and one will die. Jeopard makes contact with the tree as well and appears on this spiritual plane, akin to the Jalia from the Black Panther franchise. He also acknowledges Pubba's spirit in the afterlife. Jeopard knows Gus' time isn't done and wants to guide him back home. There is closure and resolution because Pubba is grateful Gus has a new father figure to care for him. When Gus wakes up in reality, he burns the tree down. Immediately, the sick and its virulent era goes away. The cave begins to crumble, but just as a rock is about to fall on Gus, Singh shoves him out of the way and gets crushed. His atonement is complete and yells at Gus to leave and live. He holds one of the boy's antlers, accepting that he made a mess of things. But Singh can sense a new destiny awaits the world, especially as a flower grows from the antler. On the outside, all the humans are thankful for Gus' help, even Zhang's group. They leave to rebuild the colony, calling a truce with Sienna's squad. Ginger gets help from Bear and Wendy to deliver her child, a seal hybrid. This is a huge moment because nearly every human accepts that nature has chosen the hybrids as the inheritors. Apart from Zhang, no one has a problem with it. Rosie takes her surviving wolf boys to the plane to leave. She hated how her mother weaponized them all, so she could not wait to be away from Zhang's toxicity. Ginger, her child and her boyfriend depart as well, eager to form a loving clan. Zhang is left alone, enraged in the snow. Everything she had worked for had come to naught. She knows that she'll die alone in the frigid region, even faster than if the sick was still around. As Gus and his friends trek back, Gus stops with a wounded Jeopard to survey the beauty of the land. He asks for a story, so Gus tells him a tale of the future. It's a time jump where Gus returns home to meet the other hybrids at Yellowstone. There is another flash forward, showing that the narrator of this sci-fi series is James Brolin as an older Gus. Gus got married to Wendy, had children, built a big colony, and is now relaying the entire series to the new generation. He confesses that the hybrids took over, but the last few years saw a world based on peace and unity. It was the dream and utopia Gus wanted. It was temporary, but it meant a lot, playing on the unwavering faith he had as a child. Some fans felt Gus was innocent and naive, but he was a pure soul. Now, Gus is a father, hero, and the chosen one to a bunch of hybrids. The final shot of Season 3 is very obscure. Gus and Jeopard's teary exchange in Alaska makes it seem like this is a final goodbye. It looked like Jepperd was dying and just wanted to rest so he could pass quietly. But when he asks Gus what will happen to the big man, Gus' nickname for him, the show cuts to Gus in Yellowstone watching his peers play. Surprisingly, Jepperd emerges from Pubba's cabin and they drink maple syrup, Pubba's favorite hobby. They end the show smiling as they observe their tribe, but it's uncertain if this is reality. Gus could have been imagining this finale as it's the idealistic ending he wanted to believe in. Gus knew how much Jepperd sacrificed for him, and to move past his own morbid history. Thus, he always thought Jepperd deserved this happy ending. It could also be that Gus was lying. One of his kin asked him about Jepperd, so Gus might not have wanted a morose capstone to their post-apocalyptic journey. This scene could be a reflection of what Gus tells the children. Jepperd made it back with them and lived out his days happily ever after. Notably, when Gus, Wendy, and Bear come home, Jepperd isn't with them. That's a stark indicator he died and they had to bury him in Alaska. They would have had help from Sienna and they could have placed him beside Munak's grave. It could also be that this sequence isn't a fable. Jepperd had many injuries from his past as a football player, so there was a chance he got up, trekked over to Sienna's base, and got patched up. He might just been lagging in Yellowstone as a straggler who isn't the most nimble. With so much loss in Sweet Tooth, it certainly feels like it needs smiles and love at the end. It's marketed as a Netflix TV series for families and children, so more than likely, audiences will want to believe in the prevailing theory that Jepperd lived. It's like the Inception ending from director Christopher Nolan, where viewers weren't sure if Cobb got back to his children. That said, if fans want a dour finale, they can think Jepperd died. But for viewers who embodied Gus' perspective that things will get better, betting on Jepperd making it back is a very fitting choice. Ultimately, this ending would have given him time to properly cultivate a relationship with his new son, help Bear and Wendy grieve about losing their families, and allow Jepperd to be a father to a lot more hybrids. As Gus said, this is a story about him overcoming adversity, but his final anecdote affirms that Gus wants everyone to know it is very much the legend of the indefatigable big man.